Okay, this is a Real Housewives New York, Fashionably Fired Up, Season 7, Episode 11. Real Housewives of New York. Gosh, I just can't get this camera pointed quite right. So anyway, we start off with Bethany, Sonia, Ramona, and Dorinda. They're doing cupcake decorating and talking about Sonia's judgment being paid off, and she invites everyone to go to Turks and Caicos, which sounds lovely. I don't think I could pick it up on a map. I really don't. I guess I should have looked that up. So anyway, Luann and Kristen talk, and Luann's like, I'm sorry I cut you off last week, darling, but it was a horrible time. I feel kind of bad for Kristen, because on one hand, she's clearly, like, not fitting in with this group. I've said it before. It's like she's like a 6th grader hanging out with high schoolers, and she's just not really meshing. And I do feel bad, because haven't we all been there where we're, like, with the wrong group of people? But on the other hand, she's being really nasty. Like, I know that they all feel like, I know that she feels like she was there first, but really Bethany was there, you know, since the beginning and has come back. And both her and Heather have kind of made snide remarks about, like, I don't get what the big deal is. She's a very young daughter. She doesn't get to be with her daughter as much as she would like. That's obviously very heartbreaking. And while it's not quite as heartbreaking as her being a millionaire with no home, it is, which is a joke. It's clearly very devastating, and I think anyone who has gone through shared custody of a child, if they really love that child, says that it's heartbreaking, it's incredibly difficult. Her child is very young, so it's not like she can, it's not quite the same as if the daughter was like 13 and could talk and was doing things on her own. So they're making remarks like, what's the big deal? I leave my kids. Hey, you're a stay-at-home mom with a husband. And, you know what I mean? Like, it's different, and it's kind of nasty to compare. Anyway, I'm sorry, I am rambling this morning. Beth and Carol meet, and Carol had a sex dream about Bethany, which is, I found kind of hilarious. They have a photo shoot. They talk about the trips of the day, the dates of the trip, and basically Bethany can't be there the whole time. And everybody flips out, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I think it's totally reasonable. It's not like she's telling him, she said, I'm not asking you to change the dates. But what someone pointed out to me on Twitter, which I had forgotten, is that it's all about getting airtime. And if Bethany's not there, it's less likely that the time without Bethany will be shown. And I don't know if that affects how much that affects their paycheck. But it does affect, like, being renewed and getting on another season. I say that it should just be more interesting. There you go. Be more interesting, do more interesting things, even when Bethany's not there. So Bethany shows up and Kristen's, like, right on her. And I'm thinking, Kristen, you already know Bethany's kind of, like, not that into you. Maybe this is a bad way of handling it, because she clearly doesn't care. Anyway, so she cries, she breaks down. Everyone's like, oh, I'm so sick of Bethany crying and stuff. I get why people don't like Bethany. I just like her. I do. I mean, there's times I want to be like, Bethany, just pull yourself together and tell them this is what's happening, and that's all there is to it, and she's sorry that they don't agree. Like, that's all she needs to do. But I still like her. If you don't, I understand. I really do. I get where you're coming from. You're sick of her. You have problems with her personally. That's totally justifiable. Okay? I'm just saying I don't. I still like her. Toes before bros, Ramona and Bethany meet. I'm liking Ramona a bit more this season. She still sticks her nose in more than she should into things that aren't her affair, but she's a little bit less. I do agree with the whole thing. Whatever she's going through with Mario has kind of softened her in some ways. They have a cover party. Ramona goes in and talks to Kristen and says, you know, you really came at Bethany. I agree. I don't necessarily know that Ramona's going to win any brownie points or make any, you know, have anything. But this is why Ramona's still on the show after all these seasons. She just can't control her mouth. And that is what you need, ladies and gentlemen, to be a good housewife. So hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you're thinking. Where do you land on the Bethany issue? Are you sick of her, or are you like me, where you don't think she's right but you still like her? Where are you feeling? I like Heather. I just wish Heather would be like, okay, clearly Bethany doesn't like me, and just back off. Or just maybe occasionally, like, give Bethany a pat. It's okay, dear. And then leave. I mean, right? Like, some of these women who've been married and have wonderful relationships maybe could just cut some slack for the women who are struggling. Anyway, hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think.